What's going on? What's going on, everybody? We are back again. As we promised, we wanted to get a little bit more of some instant reaction. We want to get y'all some clips. We want to get y'all this show quick, get some reaction really quickly to the game. And Alliance played an early game, which made it very easy for us to do that. So we're gonna continue coming with the early clips this time around. But first, of course, want to introduce ourselves. I am Keith Boss, King Keith, preferably. You can follow me on
Preferably.
Instagram and Twitter at underscore Dr. King's Dream. CB, you want to go ahead?
I am Sierra. I go by CB. You can follow me on TikTok at 411 Lions, and you can follow me on Instagram at CB Love That for you.
Yeah, so to go ahead and jump into it, of course, the Lions did defeat the Minnesota Vikings in a very narrow match. They kind of were in command for large portions of the game, but then kind of let the Vikings back in. But then they also got off to a slow start. Very much an up and down game, which is to kind of be expected. Being on the road against a team that was 5-0 coming into this game. Don't know how Minnesota was 5-0. If Minnesota was 5-0, well, I guess seeing this game, you could kind of see why Minnesota was 5-0. They definitely are good. And that home atmosphere seems very difficult to be able to deal with. I know Jake Bates had mentioned after the game that that's the loudest atmosphere he had played in. So definitely a tough game. The Vikings definitely gave the Lions their all, and they did some of the kind of weird Vikings tricks that you kind of see come up. But the Lions are able to pull it off. Even without Hutch, it was kind of expectations were very up and down. But Sierra, what did you see from the Lions that kind of helped them pull this thing off?
I would say, okay, so before we get into that, I got to say this. Before the game and this week, obviously you had all the hype about the Lions versus the Vikings, division rivals. The Vikings are 5-0. It kind of went pretty split. I seen some people having the Vikings, some people having the Lions, so it was 50-50. But hey, if you didn't pick the Lions, baby, it's your thing. Do what you want to do. All right, but back to the game. So what helped the Lions win? I would definitely say the duel of the quarterbacks. Jared Goff did not have a incompletion until the third quarter.
Mhm.
Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, 44 receiving yards. He had 116 in rushing, 2 touchdowns. And then I would say, of course, Brian Branch. Best safety in the league, baby. He had 4 pass deflections. He had an interception. He had 4 or 5 tackles. So I would say those 3 things, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff, and Branch. Other than that, the game was pretty even, pretty split on the stats. So I would say those 3 things helped us win.
Yeah, very interesting game. From the offensive perspective, I think definitely very solid. I had a lot of I was very pumped up to see the Lions play good against the Minnesota defense because this Minnesota defense continues to get talked about as being great, and the statistics do kind of bear that out, that they kind of cause a lot of chaos more
Mm-hmm.
than anything because they do give up a lot of yardage sometimes. But the Lions really did not allow that chaos to affect them very much. That was, of course, the play where Montgomery fumbled later in the game. We can talk about that a little later. But other than that, the Lions really did play a pretty clean game on offense. Started off, a little bit shaky. The offensive line wasn't picking up some of those blitzes when they were getting that Goff. And we looked a little bit rough, but kind of just got to settle in. And Goff very much settled in as he typically does. Didn't throw any incompletions. Really just kind of didn't make any mistakes. Even the incompletions, like were passes that were batted down or like catchable balls or balls that he just kind of had to get rid of to throw in the dirt. Just absolutely impressive. So agree 100% with Jared Goff. Agree 100% with Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs fantastic, especially with Montgomery having the injury and a bit of an off day. The fact that you can have that with running backs is just so much it's just so impressive, and it's such a luxury to have that you can kind of have your second. Gibbs isn't really a second; it's like 1A, 1B kind of.
Oh yeah.
But for him to be able to come in and just kind of replicate a lot of that production, even between the tackles, huge. I want to give a special shout out though to the wide receivers, and not for receiving, but for blocking.
Yes.
Um, the Lions very much have a strict no block, no rock kind of policy, and I really love it, and it's really bearing itself out, and it bears itself out with everybody on the roster. Obviously, St. Brown's a guy that gets very physical. Jameson Williams, it had been a surprise to everybody to see him block very well, especially with the slight frame early on in his career. Tim Patrick, again, coming up with a couple of big plays in this game. He blocks really, really well, and he's just kind of huge. He really looks 6'7" on TV. Like he's a giant.
Is he
Um,
6'7"?
He's huge. Like he
He is
is big.
big.
When Golf threw that one pass where he avoided the strip sack and then threw it over the middle to Patrick, and he just goes up. Like when he jumps at that size, I'm just like, damn, he is huge. Like he looks like you would expect like a basketball player to look almost on the field. But he blocks well. Khalif Raymond blocks well. Seeing those guys like get down the field and help, like runs don't get blown up because the wide receivers miss blocks. And you see that with a lot of teams where running backs will kind of cut outside or they'll have a chance to bust a big run open and the receivers let their blocks go and the corner ends up making a big play. That doesn't happen with the Lions. When Gibbs is zigging around and all that, they are out there like blocking, like they are giving him the space he needs. So I feel like very, very underrated aspect of this team is the fact that those wide receivers block. They have a very strong mentality. Of course, though, Brian Branch, fantastic. A lot of guys on the defense are fantastic. I really liked everything about the way the defense played, except on the edge, which is to be expected when you lose Aiden Hutchinson, when you lose Marcus Davenport, when you lose Derek
Mhm.
Barnes, all these guys who kind of job is to play the edge. They lost contain on the first touchdown run. Didn't get a lot of pass rush from the edge, which is going to be a big concern, obviously, moving forward. But the interior of the D line played pretty well. The linebackers were outstanding. Anzalone was everywhere. Malcolm Rodriguez was everywhere. Reeves Maben, Nowalski even getting some big snaps. They tackled really well. They played pretty decently in coverage. The corners, the safeties doing their thing per the usual. Justin Jefferson, had a decent day, but I'll take 7 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown against Justin Jefferson. Like he's a game record typically. So I really thought the Lions played really good in pretty much every aspect except the pass rush. And thank goodness it didn't kill them because Sam Darnold is hit or miss. But yeah, to me, a lot of good things. I thought the Lions looked very, very impressive. Really, just kind of one bad play made this game way closer than it needs to be with the Montgomery fumble. That was, I don't want to call it bad luck because it was a great play by the safety, but
Bad luck.
yeah, yeah, a lot of bad luck. What are you feeling about Minnesota and just in general the idea of playing in the division now?
Well, I mean, we show we can beat Minnesota. Um, if we got to play them again, I'm not worried. I'm ready to take on Chicago and Green Bay next. I'm ready to, hand them, a L.
Green Bay keeps winning. They keep winning.
Yeah, and Texans, you had one job. One
Very,
job.
very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yep, but hey, we pulled ours out. We are back number one. I mean, I know we're both 5-1, but I believe we're number one now. So
Yep, we on the top.
we are on the top with the tiebreaker. But I'm satisfied we pulled out the win. I mean, like I said, the game was pretty split. If you look at the stats, pretty split. Our time of possession of the ball was 29 to their 30 minutes. We had 0 interceptions. They had 1. We had 1 fumble. They had 0. We both had 8 penalties. 16 flags were thrown in this game.
A lot of flags.
I didn't like it.
I don't even want to talk about the officiating today. I don't even want that to ruin the mood.
We punted 4 times. They punted 3. We both had 4 sacks. We had 56 plays. They had 52. We had 19 first downs. They had 16. We had 144 in rushing yards. They had 139. And we had 247 in passing yards. They had 244. So this game was about dead in the middle.
Very, very split game. Very, very even game. And kind of what you would expect, especially with the Lions playing, again, a very competitive opponent on the road. They're playing well. They're really well coached. As we saw, they executed, it seemed like about as good as they possibly could. I think that the Lions just talent-wise have a superior team to Minnesota, but I think that Minnesota's coaching does a really good job of propping them up as well. So not at all surprised to see this be a competitive game. Again, some more stats just to throw out there. Jared Goff, 140 plus passer rating now in 4 straight games. That's only been done 4 times before. Jahmyr Gibbs, multiple touchdowns, 100 plus total yards. Again, things that Lions players just you haven't really seen done in the past. Even some of the greats, they've just been outstanding. Amon-Ra St. Brown now 3 games in a row with 100 plus receiving yards and a touchdown in the game. They're just kind of cooking, and it seemed like early in the season we were worried. We were like, well, not worried. I wasn't worried, but the offense was kind of what was holding the team back a little bit. And now that the offense has found its rhythm against all different kind of defenses, I mean, they've gotten all different kind of looks so far this year. Um, they look like they could score against anybody pretty much at will on a lot of drives. Golf is just limiting the mistakes.
Oh
The
yeah.
run game is flowing well. The offensive line is opening up holes. Um, they just look really good. They look really good. There really aren't too many concerns. But if there was a concern that you had, maybe with the Lions, you know, that that pass rush here, I don't how did you feel about the pass rush against Minnesota? Because they did get home a few times.
I would say this. Was it great? No. And I know he was able to run on the outside. Was it running back Jones?
Mhm.
He was able to run on the outside. He did get a touchdown, but he did get 93 yards, so he was held under 800 yards. Sam Darnold got away a couple times. He got 39 rush yards, but he was
Mhm.
sacked 4 times. I mean, the last sack of the game, that was the last play, so really 3
Mhm.
during the game, but I wouldn't say it was bad, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't. I definitely feel that we are missing that Aiden Hutchinson's presence. I think we would have had maybe 7 sacks. I think we would have had more sacks. I don't think Darnold would have had much time to throw. I think he would have been hurried a little more. But for Aiden Hutchinson not to be in the game and we still come up with 4 sacks, I'm not completely unsatisfied.
Yeah, I agree mostly. I think my biggest concern is the fact that it's not the sacks. And Aiden Hutchinson has been doing a great job of converting those pressures into sacks this year more than he has in the past. But it is the pressures themselves, the hurries, the rushes, like hitting the quarterback, like making him think, those kind of things that Hutchinson does. There's so many plays where he puts pressure on the quarterback without actually bringing him down that still affects what the quarterback does, whether it makes him throw the ball a little earlier and throws off his timing, whether it allows the defense to be able to get in a better position or not have to cover as long as we saw on some plays today.
Yeah.
Um, and they're just missing that. They're missing that presence. There were too many dropbacks where Darnold just had all day to throw. And I'm not saying that
Yes.
every single time on those plays that Hutchinson would have been getting in there, but a decent amount because I mean his pressure rate was insane. I think it was like 38% or something crazy like that already. So the lack of pressure just in general from the outside is a concern. The Lions aren't the strongest blitzing team either. I know they try to throw some blitzes out there today. Some of them were pretty effective, but some of them weren't. They got stonewalled a couple of times. So I got concerns. I definitely have concerns, and I do think the Lions. I think they are going to go out and make a move at some point. And I think that they need to go out and make a move at some point. I don't think it's going to necessarily be this drastic go get Max Crosby, trade 5 first round picks, mortgage the future, but they got to get another big body in there that pushes the pocket on the edge, if not two. I think they need a couple of guys to be honest, but um, they're going to have to make a move because the amount of time Sam Darnold had to throw today
Yes.
made me a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel we do need to go get somebody after the Tennessee game. Considering, I mean, Tennessee is still an NFL team. I know they are what 1-5, 1-6. They don't
Mm,
look great. So I think after the Tennessee game, I hope to have somebody signed.
mm,
I don't think we drastically need anybody for the Tennessee game. It's not going to make or break us.
mm.
But after Tennessee, I hope to have somebody sign, or even after that game, I hope to have somebody sign within the next 2 weeks. I do want
Yeah,
to see somebody.
my hope is is honestly, and it sounds like in a perfect world, of course. They are playing Tennessee next week, and it's in Detroit. I'm hoping that they just tell Harold Landry after the game, you stay back. You you can stay in Detroit. Actually, don't get on the bus and go to Tennessee. You can stay with us. You're going to be a Lion now. Somebody like that,
Yeah.
I think is a really good fit. Somebody who isn't necessarily spectacular, but very solid, very consistent. Has multiple double-digit sack seasons. Not a guy that's going to break the bank or anything like that, but a very quality player. Zadarius Smith is another name that's gone out there, and it looks like Cleveland's season has officially gone in the tank. Now that Deshaun Watson appears to have torn his Achilles,
Oh
which
yeah, what did you think about that? He was crying and
I'll keep my comments to myself. I'm not happy to see anybody get hurt, but I'm not a fan of Deshaun Watson as a player or a person.
I'm not
So
a fan, but damn, that was sad though. I'm like, damn. But
it's unfortunate, but all
hey,
my Cleveland friends are like, "Hey, next man up," kind of like not happy, but like kind of a little happy. Um, But again, Zadarius Smith is a guy from that Cleveland team that I think would be very interesting because I mean I doubt Cleveland's going to be trading Myles Garrett, and if they did, it cost the world. But Zadarius Smith, another guy, productive this year, a guy who they asked him actually about it a few days ago about potentially getting traded to the Lions, and he was like, the idea of being able to play against Green Bay and Minnesota twice a year sounds pretty interesting to me because he of course used to play for both of those teams. So a Zadarius Smith, a Harold Landry, somebody that just can put more pressure on the quarterback, not force Josh Pascal and James Houston and those kind of guys have to be relied upon too much. I like Pascal. I love his game. He's very injury prone though, so it's kind of hard to be able to rely on him as well. But
yeah, he was down maybe once or twice this game. I mean, he got up and luckily it wasn't nothing serious. But
yeah, and he had a sack in his game. He had like a kind
yep,
of a true sack essentially. It was on like a naked bootleg, but a true sack. So I would love to see another guy or two on that edge. I know everybody's like, oh, well,
yeah,
Aiden Hutchinson, he could be back for the Super Bowl, blah blah blah.
no, I
Let
don't think he coming back.
let that be what that be when it's time to cross that bridge. But right now we don't have him, and we cannot count on having him walk in. If he ever gets back before we expect, that's a luxury. But that should not be the expectation. Is, oh, let's wait. No, we need guys right now that we know can produce. And right now I don't trust the edge. The interior looks great though. I love the interior. I love McNeil. I love Reader. I love Makai Wingo, the 6th-round rookie out of LSU. I love what I'm seeing for the interior. Owns Enrique. Pascal even can move to the inside. I love it. But the edges,
We need
uh,
somebody.
yeah, we need somebody. I'm waiting for Melifonwu to come back. Melifonwu was an amazing blitzer like the second half of the season. He was really helpful as far as generating sacks, but another guy that just can never stay healthy in his career. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Minnesota also does have a really good offensive line, though. I do want to mention that. That does affect how the Lions look. I think we'll see how they look against Tennessee, who may be a little bit weaker, but the pressure was just kind of not getting there often today. Even the sacks were like coverage sacks, which is good from the secondary. I thought Terry and Arnold looked good and his reps against Justin Jefferson.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, I was quite impressed by pretty much everybody besides the edges. And I mean, you can only expect so much when so many guys are down.
yeah. And Justin, I mean, no pass interference calls this game, baby. How you like
Yeah,
us now?
a very, very limited calls, and still the calls on Carlton Davis, like the legal contact, I thought was weak.
I thought it was
Um,
stupid. I didn't like that one.
yeah, I still
I
just
didn't
don't
like it.
understand what people expect for corners to do in the NFL nowadays. But they're calls that I'm willing to live with. But I thought impressive game overall. I mean, the Lions looked impressive. They pulled it out. They won the game. They didn't look perfect, but they looked very, very solid. And this is a game that you could see them be playing in January, hopefully at home instead. But could see this in January.
And shout out to Jake Bates because I mean, hey,
Oh yeah.
listen, he
We
won
gotta
the
give
game.
gotta give Batesy some love. I was nervous.
Shout out
Like
to you.
I was nervous. Like I was
Yeah,
worried. But they got down far enough to where I was like, okay, like 40 something yards, like I think we'll be okay. But they seem very content with relying on the field goal. And I'm like, please don't be like, okay, you can hit this 53-yarder. This is easy.
hey, he iced that baby. So hey, I'm happy. I'm happy. Shout out to Jake Bates for them 3 points for us. Shout out to Jake Bates because without
Yeah,
him,
yeah,
hey, we
yeah.
probably might have won.
Yeah, shout out to him for hitting those, for hitting all the extra points still. I mean,
Yep.
Bates has been good this year. Bates has been good. He has been everything that we can ask for, honestly. We haven't
Mm-hmm.
asked for any deep field goals yet, and I hope that we don't really have to, but we know that he can. Will he? We'll see, but we know that he can at least. So that's good to have on our side.
Yeah, to be 28-29, fourth quarter, what was it? Maybe 5-6 minutes left. I'm like, oh. All right, let's calm down. It's only 1 point. And we was able to get in field goal range, and Jake Bates was able to take it to the house for us. So I mean, and even with us last playing the Vikings, no receiver on the Vikings had 100-yard game. So I
Mm.
was happy about that. I know Justin Jefferson, he gonna get some yards. He gonna get his touchdown. It's the best wide receiver in the NFL. But the last time we played him, December 2023, 6 receptions, 141, and a touchdown. This time we played him, 1 touchdown, 7 receptions, 81 yards. So
Yeah,
better,
it really
better.
felt like even with the yards he got, he really had to work for pretty much everything as well, especially
Hmm.
anything on the boundary. Even the touchdown play. I mean, Amik Robertson wasn't in bad position there. He wasn't in perfect position, but that's the catch that a lot of receivers don't make. Like Justin Jefferson is one of the receivers in the league, one of the
Oh
maybe
yeah,
5 or 10% of receivers in the league, I think, that make that catch. So they really didn't make anything easy. There were a couple of drag routes where he kind of got open a little bit where I was like, what's going on? But I think that was just the coverage thing more so. But they made him work, even for the yards that he did get. They made him work. So pretty impressive day, honestly, from this Lions defense. I'm hoping to see them really kind of shut Tennessee down. Considering I think Mason Rudolph started for them today.
I don't know who that. They ain't on Will Levis no more, or is he injured?
I think they just benched him.
I okay.
Yeah.
Well, I ain't worried about Mason Rudolph. Sorry.
Yeah, Will Levis
Yeah.
looks like he's on the bench, and I mean that's what happens when you put mayo in your coffee. Like you're whatever, like you belong on the bench if you do stuff like that. But um, Mason Rudolph again, not somebody that's super worried about. They do got D Hop and Calvin Ridley. They got some guys. I can see Ridley having a pretty good day. Tony Pollard's not a bad running back, but Mason Rudolph just he's only going to score but so many points. Like he can only threaten the Lions defense so much.
Maybe one
And
touchdown I see him getting.
yeah, I mean, even if they, put up 17, 20 points, like, are the Titans going to hold the Lions down that much? Like, they're not. They're not. Like, the Lions are probably going to score a decent amount
I
regardless.
don't see it.
Yeah, it should be a good game from them, but we'll see. The pass rush still needs to be somewhat consistent because Mason Rudolph is not the best. But if you put pressure on him, I'm sure he's even worse. So you want him to be, as low quality as possible. But we'll see. I'm not doubting anybody. The Titans do got some guys: Jeffrey Simmons, Harold Landry. They got some pretty good guys on their team. So we'll see what that looks like. Another 1 o'clock game. Hopefully, just get a win out the way early. Get a win out the way early.
Yeah, I see this being a pretty. I ain't gonna say pretty. I ain't gonna say easy, but pretty easy win. I don't see Mason Rudolph making no noise. I seen him play on Pittsburgh, and oh god,
Yeah, definitely not somebody that inspires a lot of confidence in the team that he's starting for.
good luck.
So we'll see. But hey, look, we're 5-1. I think that this is a spot the Lions fans would have taken, even though that Buccaneers game, the one game that we did lose, was very, very winnable and probably will be a little bit frustrating looking back on that later in the season. But we're 5-1. We're in first place. We're in the best division in the league by far.
We were number one. Oh, my SpongeBob. Sorry.
Best division in the league by far. I mean, the Lions are 5-1, the Vikings are 5-1, the Packers are 5-2, the Bears are 4-2. It's an insane division, and we are on top of it right now. We're 1-0 in division games. So, I mean, I I think the only thing that I could really complain about is just the fact that the rest of the division is so good. But as far as the Lions themselves, there really isn't much to complain about. I wish that Hutch was playing for us, but other than that, I mean, it's kind of a really good start to the season, about as good as you can expect almost.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see us play the Packers and the Bears. I'm ready for those games.
Same. Packers game is up after the Titans game, and I'm pretty sure it's in Green Bay, which I like the fact that they get the Green Bay game because it's the cold game out the way before the elements really start to kind of pop out and the snow and all that kind of stuff. Even though I think the Lions fare well in those kind of games, but um, yeah, it's a good start. It's a very good start. I feel very confident in this team. If they can add some pressure on the edge from external resources, I would be about as optimistic as you can be. I still think this is the best team in the NFC, but I'm not as sold on that as I was pre Hutchinson injury. Um,
We
if
got to
they were,
get somebody.
yeah, they got to make a move at some point for like a starting level edge. But after that, I mean, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. This offense is elite.
Offense is nice. I like the defense. No, really no pass interference calls. I think we had a couple holding, but I think they were more so on the defensive line. But yeah, I mean, no receiver on their team got 100-yard games. I know a couple of them I think had like in the 70s. Justin Jefferson had 81. So I mean, hey, running back didn't even have 100 yards. I mean, he had that touchdown where he wasn't touched, but
Yeah, I'll take
that
it. And I
pissed
mean,
me off.
yeah, and looking back on that play, it really just was kind of like rookie mistake because Terry Arnold really was. I blame the edge a little bit, but like Terry Arnold was really the one that was supposed to keep the contain. He jumped inside. It happens, rookie play. Don't let it happen constantly, but as long as he learns from that mistake, I'm fine by that. You can give that up in a game that you end up winning, as long as it doesn't happen in the playoffs or something like that.
Yeah, I just hate that the referees need to chill on the penalties. I will say that. We got
Yeah,
8, they got 8.
the early part of the game was just got so slow from just
Yeah.
flag after flag after flag and
Fall.
yeah, so hopefully it's a little better next week. Hopefully we have a smoother ride, kind of put Tennessee away early like how we should. Cuz we almost put Minnesota away early, but kind of let them back in.
Yeah, that Justin Jefferson touchdown. I think they got a field goal, and then of course the punch out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was tough. And Montgomery will bounce back. I have no bad words for Montgomery. He'll be fine. He's been so great and consistent.
Mistakes gonna happen, you know.
Yeah,
Nobody's
between him
perfect.
him and Decker had a really rough day today too, struggling with Jonathan Grenard. But Grenard is one of the better pass rushers in the league in Minnesota. They signed him for that reason, for that upgrade. So he just kind of struggled a little bit with that speed rush. Again, those kind of things happen. Guys have bad days, but those are two of the most consistent guys, two of the pillars on this team. So I'm sure they'll be back in effect next week.
Yeah, overall good game. Thank you, Lions, for winning. Thank you, Jake Bass, for icing that damn field goal. And we live to fight another week, baby.
All right. Well, the Lions will move into next week. Like I said, it's 5-1. Home game against the Tennessee Titans. Looks like we're rolling. So we will be back next week. But
Rolling, rolling,
yeah,
rolling,
glad to see everybody
rolling
though.
on a river. I'm sorry.
He's just having a ball over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up though. Thanks everybody, of course, for tuning in. Continue to follow us on TikTok, continue to follow us on Twitter. We'll keep the updates, everything going. We'll continue to show us some love, let us know any kind of improvements that we can make. With that being said, though, CB, go ahead and close it out.
Alrighty, we will see you next week after the Tennessee game. CB and King Keith signing off. Peace.